That's the deeper so what part of things. That's what medical schools want to hear about in your application when you're talking about it. Well, hi, Amanda. Welcome to Am I Ready?
Hello, thank you.
So tell us, where are you located right now?
I am living on campus at Oakland University in Michigan.
Oh, in Michigan. Yes, I'm familiar with Oakland. Very good. What city in Michigan is that located in?
It's actually split down the middle of Auburn Hills and Rochester.
Okay, very good. So, well, we're glad that you're here tonight. We're gonna spend some time talking to you about your situation, and then evaluate a little bit about what we think the move forward should look like. So, hopefully, that's cool with you.
Sounds great.
Good. So, why don't we go to your excellent, and we'll start by looking at the GPA stuff. So why don't you describe that to us a little bit?
So I have a 3.79 cumulative GPA and a 3.65 science GPA. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I have like a super solid trend in any particular direction. It's kind of stayed about even, gone up and down a little bit.
Right. And that's, but it's, I would say, fairly stable in terms of the there's no big trend down. The trend with the science GPA looks like it's an upward trend a little bit, although the scale is pretty limited there. But apparently you're a pretty good student.
I sure do try.
Now your major is what?
Double majoring in bioengineering and Spanish.
Oh, great. So Spanish is a super healthy major for doctors in the U.S. I mean, we have a lot of, depending on which area of the country you're in, obviously, some more than others, but very, very useful second language to have. So that's excellent. Now, is there a medical Spanish class at your institution?
I'm actually in it right now.
Oh, good. And that's been helpful, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm taking medical terminology, and it's Spanish for first responders or something like that, medical type. So both have been helpful because the words are basically the same in English and Spanish when you get down to the science.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's excellent. Well, that's a very good. I'm glad that your institution has those types of classes. That's, I'm sure, very helpful. It makes it super relevant for you in terms of your language skills. So that's great. Yeah, awesome. Well, let's look at back to the thing. Yeah, let's look at your MCAT scores. If you scroll down a little bit, and we'll and then we'll go back up to the activities and stuff. So this is. So you've taken MCAT for real, or this is practice scores?
This is for real.
Okay. Excellent score then. I mean, it's unfortunate that you couldn't do a little bit better, but I'm just joking. So
it was a surprise to me.
How did you prepare?
I started trying to use a set of books that I had gotten from someone who decided they didn't want to take the MCAT and be a doctor after all. But I don't do as well with book learning, so I ended up using primarily Khan Academy and then practice exams from Blueprint and every other free exam, and then the official AAMC exams and question banks.
Right. And now you're a pretty disciplined person in terms of structuring your study time and prep time, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. I planned it out so that I had 3 months total. So 2 months of it was content to get through everything that Khan Academy had on their site for the MCAT, and then a month of mostly practice questions, and I stuck to that pretty well. Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. So it looks like in terms of prereqs, you're pretty much on your way. You've done all the chemistry, physics, working on, I guess, the second English course. And then now you said one of your majors is bio-related though, right?
Yes, bioengineering.
Bioengineering. Okay. And some of those classes will count toward biology and some of them not. You're probably aware of that. It's dependent on the content. If it's more biological than engineering, if it's more mechanical, then it's not going to count as biology. If it's more biological, then it will. So, and each school will make a determination on that, in and of their own, what their own things. But you should be okay with that.
Yeah, I have more coming up soon.
Yeah. Now, when is you're planning on applying? Your plan was to apply next year?
Yeah, so this next summer.
In 21. Okay, good. All right, let's go up to your activities and sort of look at that. Good. And why don't you go ahead and click on and let us see the detail by just the overall detail of all of the activities. You're just
so filter them all in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you got a lot of activity hours.
I wasn't sure if it was a lot or not. I kind of wondered.
Well, so that's, I guess, that's going to be one of the questions that I'd really like to look at. And so it looks like you've worked your way through college. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been an intern actually. So a little bit of a unusual work through college job, but
right.
Kept up with that.
Yeah, an intern. Tell me more about that.
So I started out in the finance department and then actually ended up in aftermarket. It's an automotive company. So
okay.
More on the engineering side of things, but also just a more flexible way to be able to work through.
Right. I understand. Now, if you can go to the list of activities where I can see details on. Perfect. So you Spanish for healthcare professionals, study abroad. Tell me about that. That looks interesting.
It was a month in the north of Spain, and we took classes related to Spanish for healthcare. So the vocabulary, and then also how to conduct a medical interview and how to be culturally aware of the wide variety of Spanish-speaking cultures. Because you can say a word to one Spanish-speaking patient that will explain their condition, and that same word will be extremely offensive to another Spanish-speaking patient.
Right. Yeah, especially, Spanish in Spain is much different than Spanish in Latin America. So I think you're exactly right about that.
And then we spent a week shadowing in a hospital, the local hospital. Sounds
like it was an awesome experience.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. Now you had let's talk just briefly about the tissue engineering, the research that you did there.
That is still ongoing. It started over this past summer. So I actually was extremely fortunate and had one of my engineering professors. He emailed myself and a few other students that had done well in his class and asked if we were interested in doing research. So I've actually been able to kind of choose my project and just have him guide me through it. And I'm working on, it's all like simulation and computational type research, but about how to design a tissue engineered heart valve that can actually work.
Yeah. Are you enjoying that?
I'm loving it. I knew I wanted to try out research, but I had no idea how much I would enjoy it.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you sort of thinking maybe research might be a part of what you might want your career to look like?
I really think so. I like the idea of being able to do something more systemic that can help a lot of people on top of the day-to-day patient care. So I'm really interested in doing possibly like the MD masters in engineering or something like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Depending on the medical schools, and we'll look in a few minutes about at your list of medical schools that you're looking at. Depending on the medical schools, a lot of them have different special programs. Some give you a year off to do research in particular. Some, have special master's programs or special clinical preceptorship programs that really focus you in on a specific part of research or public health or, kind of whatever you're passionate about. So that's a great way to look at kind of expanding that in medical school. And really, regardless of where you go to medical school, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for doing stuff like that. So you'll be able to really integrate that pretty well, I would guess. So awesome. Yeah, let's go back to that list. And if we want to, let's see, is there anything left on that page, or we can go back to the previous page?
The student liaison to the Board of Trustees is something I spend quite a bit of time on. Also new from this past summer, but it's, talking to or being a part of the board meetings for Oakland University, and then also attending like our student congress meetings and anything else that's kind of relevant for getting the student perspective and portraying that to our board. Yeah.
So there's really a lot of communication skills necessary in talking to these trustees and to others on the campus community and stuff. It's that sounds very valuable in terms of kind of interpersonal skills.
I'd say so. It's definitely a new skill to bring that like strict professionalism while also representing a group of very young and new to professional people.
Right. Absolutely. Good. Okay. Yeah. Now go to page 1. Cool. All right. So we have AMWA mentorship program, just a few hours there. Hospice volunteering. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that.
I read, it was one of Atul Gawande's books, and I can't remember which, is Being Mortal. And it made me really interested in just the whole idea of how we treat patients at the end of life. And I had seen hospice as like advertised at student organization fairs and that kind of thing as something students could get involved in. So I started volunteering for them and did mostly visits to the hospital or nursing homes just to check in on patients and say hello, see if they needed anything. Yeah, talk to them a little bit. Yeah, and how did you feel about that experience? I think I'm very logical about it in the sense of so many people say like, isn't that so hard? And I just kind of have the like positive view on it of this is what these people are going through, whether I'm there or not. So the only thing I can do is be there and make their day a little bit better. So I've enjoyed it a lot. It's sometimes hard to try not to be intrusive while actually being useful. Yeah, that's good. That's I mean, what you just said right there, that's the so what part. I talk a lot about the what part is that you did this volunteer activity. The so what part is the reflection that you get out of it. And that very thing that you just said, the being helpful without being intrusive, and sort of recognizing that there's a difference between those two things. That's the deeper so what part of things. That's what medical schools want to hear about in your application when you're talking about it. So, keep that in mind, but absolutely. So, and then let's see, you're doing EShadowing now, I guess? Yes. Okay. And first aid support team responder. Talk to me a little bit about that. So that's unfortunately on hold right now because we can't really have any events on campus that would warrant that. But but you did it for about a year, I guess. Yes. Yep. We did training on basic life support, bleeding control, all those kinds of things that you need, and it's just an intermediate step between an emergency happening and the typical first responders, EMS that you would think of showing up to an event. So worked a lot of like swim meets on campus and those kinds of things where basketball games where we have a lot of people together, and
Right.
we're mostly there for the crowd and anybody who
needed support. Right. Yeah. Okay. You want to scroll down there a little bit and let's see what else is left there. So a little bit of shadowing back in 2017. Was that high school or was that after high school?
That was still high school.
Okay. And then Premed Societies of Cleveland, and then MedLife. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I started out my freshman year. I became the secretary for MedLife. It was still a pretty new club, and since then I've worked my way up to president. And
oh wow!
So originally our chapter here at OU only did the service learning trips to Peru and Ecuador through MedLife, the organization. But myself and the rest of the board have expanded it to be local meetings too, and working with our community here in the Oakland County to continue the volunteering at home. So I also went on a trip to Lima, Peru, and that was an amazing experience.
Sure. Yeah. So let's go back to your dashboard. Basically, your numbers are right on spot. I mean, I think that you're not going to have problems with your numbers. Obviously, your MCAT score is great. Your GPA is right in the area where medical schools want to see it. The big hole, as I'm assuming that you sort of know, is you do have limited clinical experience, and my guess is that you sort of knew that already.
Yes, I actually on Friday applied for a CNA job at our local hospital. So I'm hoping to be able to get involved in some way like that, because I mean, I hate to speak badly about the job I have now or anything, but it's just in a sense it's boring to me because it's not medical. It's not what I want to do. So if I can make that money by being involved.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. Well, I think you're taking the right steps. I think recognizing that this is going to be a needing part of your application. You've got enough time yet. Obviously, COVID kind of complicates it all because you can't really. There's a lot of things that are not available to you, but applying for jobs like that, I think, is a great idea. I think scribing is another opportunity that you might look at if there's scribing opportunities in your community or nearby. Those are great ways to get clinical experience as well. But I definitely think you're going through the right steps to make that happen. And so, that's good. I'm glad you've recognized that as something you need to work on, and that you really are taking steps to make that happen. So that, good luck. When do you think you'll find out some news about that?
I have no idea. It wasn't really specified in the application. It was kind of, if we want to invite you for an interview, we will. And if not, you'll probably never hear from us.
Oh, wow. That kind of sucks, but yeah. Okay. Well, just keep up, keep trying, keep looking at a variety of opportunities in your community and see what's available and just, keep the effort up. Any opportunities for shadowing that you are like checking into or that you think might be possible?
The ones that I've tried so far have been a no. My only other thought or idea would be my actual primary care physician. But so I've been trying to find a time to get a hold of the office manager there and see what I can do.
Yeah, I would, all they can say is no. So just reach out and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Is it possible? And what I would say to them is I will do anything that you need for me to do. If I can just be in the environment, and I will empty the trash cans, I will do whatever. I'll file stuff. If in the process of that, you'll let me hang around and I'll wear my mask. I'll do everything. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And, just try to be, the benefit there is that if they can see there's a benefit to them that you might have to their organization, other than you kind of, I hate to say it this way, but being in the way and them having to deal with it and everything. But if they can see that there's some benefit to you being there, that you're going to offer them free services in order to, in exchange for you, being able to be there, then that can sometimes help. So, you might think about that when you do have that conversation with them.
Yeah, that's a unique approach. I haven't really heard of phrasing it that way before,
Yeah.
but it's very true. I would do whatever it takes.
Yeah, just that, just so I'm a good worker. I'll be on time, and I'll be happy to do anything that you need doing if I can, help out in any way possible in exchange for me being able to hang around with Dr. whatever for a few hours a week or something like that. So, yeah, that'd be great. Let's look at the med schools that you're looking at. Do you have some of those identified in Mapped?
It's still very much a draft phase, but yeah, I've been bookmarking.
Sure. Now, where are you from originally?
I'm from Michigan, so I'm not very far from home.
Okay, cool. So it looks like you're applying pretty broadly around the country, or that's kind of your plan to do so. Some of the really top schools in the country, obviously, Pritzker at U Chicago is a great school. BU is a great school. A lot of these schools are really excellent institutions. Now, Harvard, I'm not really familiar with, but no, I'm kidding.
Harvard, I'm not so sure about, just because how familiar everybody is with them. I don't know if that's a pro or a con in my mind.
Everybody likes to have dream schools in their list. I had no problem with that whatsoever. I would just say, go for it. If you definitely have some of the numbers that they're going to be looking for, and I think, like I said, when you're the how broad your application is and how many schools you apply to usually is more restricted by your pocketbook than anything else. The amount of money you're able to or willing to spend on the application process is going to dictate at some level or another how many schools you can apply to. So, but I would say definitely, reach out to, and look at schools that you're interested in. Now, scroll down there a little bit more. I just want to make sure that I know.
Oh.
Great. Now, I don't see U Michigan on here. Is that an oversight, or you're not interested in Michigan or Michigan State?
Michigan State, I think, was on here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
University of Michigan, I'm biased against for no real good reason. I mean, I wouldn't ever say anything bad about them actually, but it's kind of the same thing as the Harvard thing. Growing up in Michigan,
Sure.
I think the reputation grows bigger than the actual school does.
Right. Well, and let me just mention this, and you can take this for whatever it's worth. If I was how would you respond? Let's say you're interviewing at Michigan State, and I'm your interviewer, and I say to you, Amanda, where else are you applying in Michigan? And you're going to say, well, I'm also applying to Oakland, and I'm applying to blah blah blah, and this one, but you don't mention University of Michigan, because I'm assuming that that these schools in Michigan that are state public institutions favor at some level or another Michigan residents. Is that accurate?
State is the only one I have to go off of, and I do believe they have preference over Michigan residents. I know they hold some spots for Canadian students too.
Okay. So how would you respond if I asked you, why aren't you applying to Michigan? So you would rather not go to medical school than have to go to Michigan?
I wouldn't phrase it that way, but I would say I don't think it would necessarily be the best personal fit for my personality and interest.
Okay. Yeah, that's I think that's Makes sense to me. I think you need to be prepared, for that kind of question. But potentially, it probably wouldn't come up. But I definitely think when you're looking at the variety of schools that you're going to look at, applying, usually I will say to an applicant, apply to every school in your state, and then and then select schools broadly across the country that you're interested in. But I think if you have good reasons for not applying to a particular school in your state, then you got to go with your gut and how you feel about that. Definitely, absolutely.
Part of my thought process, and I'd be really curious to hear what you had to say about it, is, I mean, I'm not super interested in staying in Michigan. Like, there's definitely pros with my parents being here, but I don't have a ton of family here. And I'm kind of in the thought process of it'd be nice to be in a larger city for those 4 years of medical school, for the resources and just being young and in a city.
Yeah. That makes total sense to me. Oh yeah. And I think that's one thing, when you have the freedom to be able to do that, I think being able to look at even areas of the country and say, I would love to live on the East Coast, or I would love to live, in, California or whatever, is a great way to do it, and really see that as an opportunity to kind of broaden yourself and say, I want to live somewhere besides Michigan. So it sounds good to me. Yeah, I'd be very supportive of that.
But so it's not just me being crazy.
No, not at all. Not at all. So now down to the question really at hand is the question being, are you ready? And I definitely think that you're ready, with one small caveat. And that being, I think that I'd like to see, as you already know, I'm going to say this, some broader clinical experiences between now and next summer. And hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that that's going to happen, and you're going to be able to do that one way or another. But keep really working on that effort. Obviously, you want to keep your grades up and all that, and that's clearly an important thing. But I think you've got a good you've got good stuff going on. The research is going to help you. I'm really excited, since you're really enjoying the research, that's going to come up. You're going to talk about that probably in your application some, and you're going to talk about how what you said about having the more global impact, or more societal impact through research, as opposed to just one-on-one patient care, which you're also very interested in. But sort of a combination of the two is exciting to you, sounds like, and so that's very encouraging. And I would see medical schools being very very interested in that, and in that sort of idea that you have, and the experiences that you've had in that. So I think that's great. So I would definitely say you're ready, given the caveat that, getting some more clinical experiences and or shadowing throughout the next, 9 months or so. And, but that sounds, I think you sounds like you've got a good profile that you're working on. So I'd say go for it.
Thank you. It's great to hear from somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Right. No, I think you really obviously are working hard in college, and you're doing great stuff, and you're proving that in the classroom. You've proved it on the MCAT. You're proving it. Not only are you doing well in school, but you're working. You're doing research. You got a lot going on, and so it's clear that you're good at discipline and time management, and those are all very good qualities, personal qualities to have. So I would definitely say that you've got all the right stuff. So good luck with that. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. So sounds good. Any other questions that you've had on your mind now that we've got that out of the way?
One, I guess, would be, is that narrative of trying to do both, like the individual patient care and having larger impact, like a good type of narrative to include in the personal statement and those things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not an unusual narrative. That there will be a lot of other applicants that will go down that road as well, particularly those that have a pretty extensive research background. And so I think it's relevant, and more importantly, if that's what's in your heart, if that's what your passion really says to you, then absolutely that's what you're going to want to talk about. And you're going to want to talk about the research that you've done and this ongoing research project that you're working on, and how much you're enjoying it. And there's a lot more in years, decades ago. It used to be really cut and dry. There was research path and there was clinical path, and there was very little middle ground. These days, there's tons of middle ground, and you can do it all. Most of it's in an academic environment. You're talking about really academic medicine as a career. Not exclusively, but I would say most of the time when you have physicians that are involved in that level of a mixture of clinical and research, or clinical research, along with patient care and stuff, then I think it's often in a academic environment. So if you like that, particularly once you get to medical school, and if you really enjoy the medical school environment, and once you get into the clinicals and in residency, if you end up liking sort of the teaching aspect, then you may find that academic medicine is a really perfect fit for you. So it's going to be exciting to see as things unfold for you, kind of the direction that you go. And so that's one of the exciting parts about medical education, is kind of seeing that unfold. But more to your question, yeah, absolutely. That's the narrative I would expect, and you're going to really want to talk a lot about what it is about the research that you're doing that you love and that you're passionate about, and that connection that you've seen and desire between the patient care and that bigger picture, the micro and the macro. That's really what you're talking about.